This episode brought to you by carrots. They're orange, they're crunchy, you smash them with your teeth. They give you vitamin A, and I've heard their fiber is great for your colon. Smash them with your ivory smile and get the benefits of some carrots today. You can eat them raw, you can cook them, you can even hang them up as a decoration if you love the color orange. So hesitate no longer and get carrots right now. Use the promo code HannahTheHuman to get 10 million free carrots shipped to your doorstep today. Again, that's the promo code HannahTheHuman. Let's hit that theme song. Oh, nice. We're going for like existential vibes. Hannah. Hannah the human. I can get down with it. Get down with it. I was reading my devotional today this morning, a little snippet from a book where it talks about a topic and then you think about that and pray and stuff for the purpose of transforming your inner world, you know, like having your spirit and your soul change, because honestly, that's what we want when we change all these circumstances around us and everything like that, is we want ourselves, who we're being, to transform into more loving, more kind, all the better things. Anyway, I was reading my devotional, and today it talked about releasing the outcomes, meaning we don't control the outcomes of things. We can control what we put in. We can control our mindset. We can control the effort. We can control what we choose. We can control what people are around, what decisions we make, but we can't control the outcome. And it just got me thinking about right now how I am in Idaho and I am still waiting to start my new job as a server at a new restaurant in the area. So there's a lot of unknowns. This restaurant is brand new. Is it gonna be popular? Are people gonna come? Am I gonna get enough shifts? Am I gonna make enough money in tips? Is this gonna be a wise decision? Should I have just stayed in Iowa, continuing to work at Red Lobster, where I know that I'll make enough money to pay my bills, instead of being out here in Idaho, still paying rent on an apartment back in Iowa, still got my car payment? I hope I make money. And honestly, if I pause and think about it logically, my payments are very small. I'm living with my dad for free. He lets me eat from his own food and refrigerator and all that. So my expenses are very low. Logically, I'll do just fine. However, I was realizing how I was putting security in outcomes of things rather than, well, for me, and what the devotional was saying was to put security in God. And that can kind of be like an ethereal thing, because like, okay, who's God? What does that mean? Oh, God, you're enough for me. I don't need the results. I just want you. And then for people who aren't really, tight with God or whatever, like even does that mean? But basically the point is, I guess, even for people who don't, want to put their faith in God, basically what it gets down to is, we can all relate to this. If you put your faith in certain results happening versus the process, then you'll be let down. So, for example, say you're an athlete, say you run, and say you're going to compete, and you do really well. Say you make it to the Olympics, and now before the whole world, you're running your 100-meter dash, let's say. You could put your faith and put your security in the outcome of, I will get a medal. I mean, I have made it this far to the Olympics. I will get a medal. And then let's say you run the 100-yard dash. Let's say you even do the best you've ever done, but you get fourth place. You don't get a medal. You go home. Was it all for nothing? The letdown would be huge if you were relying on getting a medal to give you happiness and satisfaction. However, if your goal was to be present to the process, to be present to the moment, if instead you were putting your faith, your expectation, your security in doing your best, then guess what? That would happen no matter what. As long as you know that you showed up and ran the best you could that day, suddenly you'd be just grateful. Wow, I'm just so grateful that I'm getting to run on whatever platform, whether it's the Olympics or my backyard. That can kind of seem simplistic because it's like, well, shouldn't you have goals? Shouldn't you want to attain, winning a medal in the Olympics or whatever? And yeah, I'm sure you can have goals, but I think there's a difference between having goals or thinking this would be cool and going after that versus putting your security in the achievement of that goal. I mean, I'll just talk from my personal life. As I've shared before, my brother, my youngest brother, Levi, who's 2 years younger than me, he was born with a disease that caused him to die when he was 10 years old and I was 12. And I've gone over that before in previous podcasts. And I really prayed and asked God and wanted my brother to get healed. I didn't want him to die as a child. I wanted him to be able to walk and to be able to talk, and so I could get to know him, so I could get to know this brother of mine that was unable to talk to me. I wanted him to get healed so I could have a brother, and I asked God for that. Even when I didn't really believe that he would get healed, it was still like that was my focus point. My brother is going to walk and talk someday here on this earth. He's not going to die. But then he died. Spoiler. Oh, guys, I can't help but joke. If you're offended that I'm joking about death, then my apologies. But basically, it was a letdown. There's people who say, yeah, you shouldn't have asked for the healing anyway. People die, miracles don't happen. Moving on. However, I think there's a way to believe in the miraculous, believe in the impossible, and not make the miracle or the magical thing or whatever I'm wanting, not make that the source of my hope. Dependent was a word that the devotional used. And dependence isn't really praised all that much. People like independence. People like the self-made man. People like the people who say, the critics told me I couldn't, but I did it. I pushed through. I made it happen. I didn't rely on anybody. I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. But if you only have independence, this devotional was saying, and I agree with this, then you will never be at rest. You'll never find peace in your soul because you will be alone, because the world will begin and end with you. And dependence can be a scary thing because when you depend on something or someone, then it has the possibility to let you down. For me, I depended on a miracle for my brother to be healed, and depending on that let me down. But really, I was depending on me being right. Like I wasn't actually depending on that miracle. At the end of the day, I was really depending on myself. So it was a form of independence, really, because true dependence means that you're going to be vulnerable. You're going to ask for help. You're going to admit you can't make it happen. You're going to admit that it is just as possible to fail as to succeed. If I had believed in my brother being healed from a place of dependence on others and on God, if I had wanted that outcome not from independence, but from dependence and vulnerability and humility, then I would have to admit kind of what I shared about my mom and how I'm embracing that whole situation. I would have had to acknowledge that it's just as possible for my brother not to be healed as to be healed. Like either outcome is just as likely to happen. And so instead of putting all my chips in either of those baskets, I could just not put my chips in anywhere, acknowledge that both options are possible, be honest that I would prefer the option where my brother gets healed, not that my brother dies as a child, but be okay with whatever happened. Not in this blasé, I don't care, oh Lord, thy will be done. Well, what do you want? I don't know, I don't care, I guess a rock could fall in my house and praise Jesus. I mean, not that dumb, silly logic where you just become a non-person in order not to be affected by the pain of the world. I'm not talking about that type of not caring about the outcome. I'm talking about, well, I'm sure you're getting the point that I'm saying by now. It reminds me of a part in the Bible. There's this book in the Bible that we call Hebrews, because supposedly it was written to people who were Hebrews. Anyway, it starts out famously. I'm going to read a not as popular translation so that it sounds a little different than you might have heard it. It hits different, when things are said a little differently. But in the Bible, it says this verse here, faith is what gives substance to our dreams and allows us to discuss as fact what we cannot see. It is this faith that spoke so well of our ancestors. And then the Bible goes on and tells all these stories about like it was faith that gave this guy Noah knowledge in advance to build this big boat that saved his family when the world flooded. And it talks about how it was faith that caused this guy Abraham to move to a land that he didn't know of. And it was faith that caused all these other people to do all these awesome things and experience miracles and adventures and all this stuff. And then the writer of this book in the Bible ends this segment on faith with these powerful words. And none of those who bore such witness to their faith ever saw the promise fulfilled, because God kept the best in reserve for us and wouldn't let them reach the goal without us. I think that's really balanced. It's acknowledging that you can believe in the unseen. You can believe in the miracle. You can believe in the magic of life, all that unseen chemistry that goes on that's not necessarily scientifically provable. And yet life wouldn't be worth living without it, Life wouldn't be worth living without the romance, the people who fall in love. It's inexplainable, right? You can't just take two decent human beings and then, they fall in love. It's magic. It's unexplainable. It's rare. And yet it's so common. It's a common miracle, so we don't usually categorize falling in love as a miracle. But for me as a single person, it feels very miraculous because it is not yet attained in my life. It is the unseen. So that magic, that miracle, that faith in the unseen, what did the writer say? Substance to our dreams that allows us to discuss as fact what we cannot see. That's what faith is. So it's this weird, mystical, awesome, powerful thing. But it's also bookended on the other side by the fact that many people have died without seeing what they hoped for. Think of like Martin Luther King Jr. He had a dream. He saw the unseeable. He looked around at the world around him and he saw a different world, even though the world that he dreamed was so far from reality. He still believed in the unseen, but he died seemingly defeated by the nightmare. He died without seeing the dream. In fact, you could say that his death disproved the dream in a sense. And yet we still believe. Yet still people read that speech and listen to it and are so inspired as he talks about his dream. We're listening to the words of a man killed by hate, and it causes us to believe in a world of love. Ironic, right? That's faith. And why I feel so passionately about letting go of the outcomes is because in my own life, I saw how one-sided faith really derailed me for a season. And it's still hard for me. It's still hard for me to ask for the miracle or trust that things are going to be okay even if, I don't get the money I want or the relationship I want or the house I want or whatever. I mean, I feel like I honestly am still scarred in a way and hesitant to believe and hope and ask for miraculous stuff because of my experience with my brother. Because I was so lopsided in my enthusiasm for faith, for miracles, for the unseen being real, I was so lopsided and ungrounded by the other truth that we suffer, that pain is also part of the way that we gain life. The miracles and the pain, they're all one. I wasn't aware of that unity as a younger person, praying to God that my brother would be healed. And so it really was a letdown when my prayers weren't answered. But I was actually telling my dad the other day, I kind of wouldn't want it any other way. I'm kind of glad God didn't answer my prayers to heal my brother the way that I wanted. Because death, too, is a part of life. And I've learned just as much from my brother's death as I've learned from his life. Not, of course, that people are just here to teach us lessons and that's all the point is, if I could have chosen, I wouldn't have chosen a life of suffering for my brother. But the way that I feel empowered around suffering is I believe that deep down we did choose not necessarily specific sufferings, but we chose to enter this economy of pain and deal and trade in both joy and suffering. And in another experience, we may get the opportunity to simply experience pleasure and joy and awesomeness. And perhaps in that experience, we may actually miss the tension and the pain and the struggle of this experience. Who knows? So, in my life right now, what if I don't get the money I need? What if it's really tough? What if I don't have money when I move up to Michigan? What if my new job isn't busy? What if I don't make a ton of money in tips? What if I don't get to work that many hours? What if I'm stuck doing a job I don't like? Where will my source of peace be if those are my circumstances? I mean, you can ask yourself the same question. Think of something right now that gives you security. Maybe it's the hope that a current relationship that you're in, a dating relationship, ends up working out, that person is your person and you're that person's person and you build a life together. I mean, it's awesome to believe that and hope that. The alternative would be to be a gloomy person who hopes nothing, and I'm not encouraging that. But just start supposing what would your source of peace be if that outcome that you want didn't happen? Because until we find that underlying source of peace, we will continue chasing circumstances and situations when what we really want is for our soul to be at rest. And then the ironic thing is, if that circumstance and situation works out like we want it to, we'll actually get to enjoy it and we'll actually be delighted and satisfied by that experience because we're not looking for that situation or circumstance to satisfy us. It's that whole thing of, if you can't love yourself, then you'll continually be not satisfied by the love of others. But if you can love yourself, then suddenly you're able to notice and receive the love from all those around you. Same kind of concept. And when I ask myself that question, where would I find my peace if the circumstances didn't work out like I wanted? When I ask myself that question, I don't know right away what the answer is. I kind of think my source of peace is a trust that all things will be good. I think a source of peace for me that runs deeper than circumstances is that I'm loved. That for me is what God means. A source from which I'm loved. I think if you believe that you're loved, that you're wanted, if you believe that goodness will prevail, then you probably believe in God. Because if you look around at the world, there's not a ton, there is evidence that goodness will prevail, but it sure ain't coming from, the source of it championing isn't necessarily coming from this world and from us. Like, there seems to be a source greater and deeper that is causing love to win. I think that's why people who recover from addiction have to have a higher power, because addiction is basically relying on yourself to be the source of your security. But if you believe that there's a bigger source, that there's a bigger motivation, that there's a bigger force tilted in the favor of your delight and joy, then you can surrender to that force rather than having to muster up the ingredients and the power and the result of a good life yourself. I kind of just got this picture right now of a river, right? It's flowing one direction, and it's really hard to walk up a flowing river. Walking upstream is not easy. And let's imagine that the stream right now is the force of love and light and goodness in the world. Call it God, call it whatever. If you surrender to that force and finally say, you know what, I'm going to quit walking upstream and trying to make all this good and goodness and love and success happen, and you relax and let the stream float you down, you will be floating in the direction of love and goodness, kindness, compassion, all the stuff that you were fighting to achieve when you were walking upstream. When you were looking ahead at that glistening water and saying, wait, I see love flowing there. I need to go grab it. Push, push, push against the stream. If you surrender to the force that is the stream of love and goodness, then you will be carried by faithfulness. As the psalmist says in the Bible, surely goodness and mercy and love will follow me all the days of my life. That happens when you kick up your feet and float down the river. But we don't want to kick up our feet and float because we have this internal belief that if I let the current of life, if I surrender to the current of life, I will be surrendering to destruction, failure, hatred, evil. And that belief keeps us fighting. It keeps us thinking that we have to work really, really hard. Because, we've gathered so much evidence. Most days I'm nice, but if I don't purpose to be kind in certain difficult situations, I'll snap and be nasty and mean. And look at the world, all the wars. It seems like if we just let ourselves go, and then we end up fighting and causing destruction and tension and pain and death. It's people who sit and meditate for hours and like Gandhi or Buddha or whatever that give their life like monks to these higher things of love and goodness. It's those people who put in all this effort that achieve a good life. So no way that I could kick up my feet and surrender to life. No way. I would just be heading right into destruction. And yet the source of all the destruction we see is actually our resistance, actually our tension and our struggle as we walk upstream, trying to attain and deserve the water of life that we're already in. So I guess in conclusion, you could say that the outcomes are a gift versus a result. On my birthday as a kid, when I'd open up a present from my dad or my grandma or whatever, let's just say I open up a present from my grandma, and it's a dress. Yay, a dress that I always wanted. I don't say, yes, this is the result of all the stuff I've put into my relationship with my grandma. Finally, I'm getting what's due to me because of all the work I've put in. No, I say, thank you, Grandma. I love this dress. Oh, and I'm loved so much by you. You gave me a gift. I don't love my grandma. I don't talk to her and be nice or whatever in order to get another gift the next birthday. I just love her and talk to her and put in all this, quote, effort of a relationship because I like the effort, because the effort is the point. The relationship is the point. And the awesome thing is there's gifts along the way. And that's how I would love to relate to the world, to God. And I can honestly acknowledge that's not how I relate a lot of the times, most of the times. I relate to it like, okay, I need to put in my effort to get my reward. I'm very outcome based, very results based versus gift based. But since I'm aware that I want to be, I have the hiccups, that I want to be more gift based, hopefully in a couple decades, more often than not, I will view outcomes as gifts rather than results. I just also had the experience as I was listening to myself talk, because we all have that experience. Sometimes we just hear ourselves as we're talking and we think, wow, this is genius. But I'm not a genius because I have these ideas, but my life isn't a living manifestation of these ideas. However, someday my actions will speak louder than my words. And you will get these wonderful points and revelations from the way I live, not just the way I talk. But meanwhile, let's keep talking. This was really good. After my last podcast, I was just feeling overwhelmed and kind of uninspired, but bam, this idea came to me, and now I've been rambling for a lot of minutes. So it is time. It is time for a creative moment. A creative moment. Wouldn't it be grand to find that the chains that bound us were nothing more than the vapor of our own breath? To find that the dreams we long for were here right in front of us. La 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 la. Just let me be. I need to reach my full potential. Let me do the things that I want to do. I wish that today could be my day, but it's always tomorrow. Oh, wouldn't it be grand to find that the chains that bound us were nothing more than the vapor of our own breath? To find that the dreams we long for were here right in front of us. La 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 la.
Clouds are heavy, then rain comes. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Dreamers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch the clouds, then they never harvest. So remember you created while you were young. You can write lots of books and study till you're tired of it, for much has been said and heard and understood, but everything will be known. Like a tree, whether it falls north or south, it stays where it falls. And clouds will never rain.
Have faith, my friends, and peace out.